Good morning and welcome to Daily Covfefe on Unsafe Space with Carter and Keri. Today is Monday, August 12th. Correct? Hi, Carter.
How did you forget it? What's going on?
The 16th got stuck in my head all of a sudden. I was like, why is that there? Anyway.
You're clearly calling from your remote location, undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location, yeah. This is my my garden retreat.
She's ready. You're prepping for the boogaloo. You're ready.
I'm having some fruit.
I did the live stream about this just because I wanted to work through it with our community a little bit and think about it on Saturday. But I haven't talked to you about it, Keri. So we woke up to news on Saturday morning that Jeffrey Epstein, surprise, surprise, committed suicide in his jail cell.
There were so many people who called this on the left and the right. That's what's hilarious. I mean, people like Paul Joseph Watson, repeatedly, people on, who's on the right, and then people on the left like Cenk, what's his name, from the Young Turks?
Young Turks dude, yeah.
Yeah. But everyone called this.
Yep, they all called it. And there's like several different fake Hillary Clinton tweets from like 2 months ago where people saying like, "Oh, I'm upset by his upcoming suicide."
Yeah, here, this one. Jeffrey Epstein was once a close friend. His impending suicide will take a heavy toll on us all.
Right.
This is from...
Actually, Keri, I don't know if you know, but there's some leftist... Well, I don't even want to call them leftists. I want to call them like cathedral NPCs because that's more what they are. There's some cathedral NPCs who are out there who feel like they need to tell people that that's not a real tweet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, so look, I posted that a month ago, and I said when I posted it, and the caption was, for those of you who need jokes explained to you and ruin it for the rest of us, no, this is not a real Hillary Clinton tweet. Duh. So that was a month ago, and then I posted it yesterday or the day before. I'm like, remember this joke from last month? That's what it said, joke. Remember this joke from last month? And I had people in the comments saying, that's not a real tweet. I'm like, I know.
That's why I have little hope for the future of our society. There's so many dumb people. It's really bad.
The friend who was saying it knew that it wasn't a real tweet, but my point was, do you think that I'm so dumb that I think it is? Really? Or do you
think it's a real tweet? Even if she actually was going to do it, she wouldn't tweet out his impending, I'm sad about his impending, like, worst possible case where she's a flagrant conspiracy, like all the conspiracy theories are true and she's murdering people. Even in that crazy case, she wouldn't tweet that out. No one in their right mind thought that was a real tweet ever. The weird thing to me is not that we have to be worried that people think it's a real tweet. No one did. It's that there are people who think that they need to clarify that in the world. That's a level of stupidity that I just can't fathom.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there were a lot of hilarious memes, and I was thinking about it, and actually my aunt said, don't make jokes about suicide. And I said, well, actually, this is a joke about murder, Aunt Glennis.
Don't worry, I'm not. Yeah. You can make jokes about suicide when it's a pedophile.
Yeah, I pretty much feel like you can make jokes about anything. I'm of the opinion nothing's off the table.
I agree with that also. But on top of that, like, you can't be like, oh, it's too sensitive of a topic. That's a pedophile.
Yeah.
Crap, I'm not supposed to swear. The guy's a damn pedophile. Is that not a swear? I'll just bleep out the other thing I said. So Keri, the do you know the latest, like the info we have up to date right now? Do you know what
So I know last I read, well, first of all, I saw Tim Pool did a great video about it. I mean, a lot of people have done videos. I haven't had time to watch all of them. But the New York Times, the fact that they called it a suicide just because that's what they were told, and they didn't wait for any coroner's report or anything. Any other death, they would have said death, Jeffrey Epstein's death, alleged suicide. Like they would have, but they just go. That blew my mind, the fact that so many people trust a source like the New York Times as being unbiased and there with the facts, and right under your nose they're telling you what to believe without having all the facts themselves.
Yeah, so actually you're bringing up something a little bit different, but I think it's super important, which is I think the cathedral's response to this is what's really interesting. So first, there are, I will say, more
For people who are new, tell them what the cathedral means.
when I say the cathedral, I just mean, academia, the media, the kind of uh
The blue
call it
cathedral.
deep state, but not really government, less government and more, blue check mark. The NPC blue check mark legacy media world, and throw in academia there as well. It's the establishment. Uh, there are more aggressive members of the cathedral who think they can get away with tying this to Trump. So Joy Reid, for example, said she implied that this was the Trump DOJ that had killed Epstein in prison. And Alec Baldwin, of course, he rolled out the Russia. Oh, Russia did it. Russia's in charge of everything now that Trump's. Alec Baldwin has to be the dumbest person on the planet, at least in Hollywood. But yeah, so he rolls out the Russia thing. But just to be clear, why we can dismiss all that, I just want to let's be clear. Epstein has been doing this with the powerful people listed, by the way, and this is not. Trump may be implicated. I don't know.
There's a ton of powerful people who could have done this.
But the people that we know went to the island are Prince Andrew, who's the Duke of York, Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, Stephen Hawking, Larry Summers, former Clinton-Obama economist and Harvard president. There's a bunch of media people, Hollywood people who stood by him. Katie Couric, Chelsea Handler, Woody Allen. Like, there's a list here. I mean, and Clinton himself, he was on the Lolita Express 26 times, and we know he was on the island. Trump, there's no evidence that I've seen anywhere that Trump was ever on the island. I think there is evidence that he was at a party once at Epstein's place in Manhattan. And certainly because Trump ran Mar-a-Lago, a lot of celebrities and powerful people partied at Mar-a-Lago. And there's pictures of Trump with Epstein and stuff at parties at Mar-a-Lago. So, but the point here that I want to make
is it true that he banned him from Mar-a-Lago? Or is that
I heard that as well, but I don't know the details there. But the point is, Epstein, this was happening for decades. And none of these former presidents, like Obama, Bush, Clinton, no one went after him. No Department of Justice went after him. In fact, the best that they did was, obviously, as a lot of people know, Alexandra Acosta gave him a sweetheart deal and got him off on some charges. But no one really went after this guy aggressively until the Trump DOJ, right? This had been forgotten, not in the news. It's the Trump DOJ who went after the guy in the first place.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was never going to be brought to justice.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
we owe a debt to, here's something, talk about the cathedral and their response to this. They hate someone like Mike Cernovich.
Yes.
And but you know what? Without Mike Cernovich, I don't think he would have.
This is all, I mean, I know he had help. There was a Miami Herald, I think, and some other people involved, but Cernovich, kudos to Cernovich. It doesn't matter what you think about anything else he's done. I like a lot of what he's done, actually, but my point is, like, it doesn't matter anything else you think of the guy. He gets credit for this.
Absolutely.
He forward. He filed Freedom of Information requests. He has been at the forefront of this, spending his own money, trying to get to the bottom of this. And I don't think Epstein would have been arrested if it weren't for Cernovich pushing this and pushing it out into the mainstream.
I agree.
So
here's something else I heard. Tell me if this is true. That he had been on suicide watch as recently as 2 weeks ago, and they took him off, and then they transferred his cellmate out, which they're not supposed to do. So he was alone.
Yeah. So here's the latest that we know. Although I do want to get back to the cathedral stuff in a minute. We're jumping around here, but yes, he was on suicide. So after he was originally found in his cell with marks on his neck and unconscious, and this was the supposed suicide attempt. Although, to be clear, we never really got details about whether it was a suicide attempt or not. There's not a lot of transparency, but this was the supposed suicide attempt, and that he was then put on suicide watch. Now, he was taken off of suicide watch on July 29th, and the warden, so what should be done at that moment when he gets taken off suicide watch, and what the warden told the DOJ he was doing. So the warden said, we're going to follow the procedure, and he's off suicide watch. The procedure involves him having a cellmate at all times, and guards checking on him every 30 minutes. Now, what we know is guards, we know a couple things. One, he had a cellmate removed the day before, which was also, by the way, the day that a lot of court documents were unsealed. The Cernovich case, they got a lot of court documents unsealed. That same day, so more information was coming out. That same day, they removed the cellmate, Epstein's cellmate. And from what I've seen is when the EMTs showed up, his body was cold, which means he had been dead for quite some time. We know the guards were not checking on him every 30 minutes. Now, there's stories about like, oh, they're on overtime and overworked and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, the two things that were supposed to happen, checking every 30 minutes, having a cellmate, and having a cellmate is important because it's drastically decreases the chances that you can get away with suicide if you've got a cellmate. It also, I think, decreases the chances that you try. So those two things were happening. What we have now is we have the cathedral now saying, so like I said before, the aggressive parts of the cathedral are kind of like, we can blame Russia, which is just stupid, and blaming the Trump DOJ is stupid because they were the ones who went after the guy in the first place. However, I think the default position, the fallback position, which I think most of the cathedral is going to be pushing, is they are going to adopt a protect the establishment stance on this. And their goal is for people to not lose faith in institutions of government. And they're going to chalk this up to like, oh, well.
Or the media.
Huh?
Or the media.
Right. And they don't want faith lost in institutions generally, but they're going to be like, oh, well, there was some underfunding, or this was a problem that can be, it's just a procedural problem or some, oops, this thing happened, and they're going to downplay this. And I think my guess is that they will move it out of the news cycle as fast as they reasonably can, unless they can make some Trump implications stick, which I don't think they can. And this is why I think it's super important, Keri, because by virtue of the fact that the cathedral is going to rush to try to get you to not question these institutions, that should be a signal to you. I think one thing that's happened here is a lot of people who, thought that this stuff was crazy conspiracy theory stuff, didn't like to use the terms deep state, thought that was a weird thing. They had a lot of faith in the institution of government and the bureaucracy and three-letter agencies. I think a lot of them are now looking at this going, I don't trust them anymore.
Well, it's so obvious. And I saw part of your live stream about it, and I agree with you. The fact that knowing how bad the optics were going to be on this, and they still did it. The optics are so bad that, like we said, people across the board on the right and the left were making jokes about this and warning about this for the past month. It's almost like if we talk about it and make enough jokes about it, they can't possibly kill him. And then they did.
Yeah. And in fact, there's been memes now. You've probably seen this, the libertarian, authoritarian graph that people have with the 4 quadrants. Like there's been that graph going around where every single quadrant just say like Epstein was murdered.
That's hilarious.
No one on any side believes. Now,
look at this one.
Right. Right.
I just have to say the memeing that's come out of this has been quite funny. Can I show you one last one?
Yeah, show me more memes.
Oh, come on. I got these from your buddy, Sal the Agorist.
Yeah, he has a lot of good memes about this.
He does. Look at this one. Does everybody know the Spider-Man meme?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Pretty good. But look, I want to be clear. He may have killed himself. He certainly has incentive to kill. Like,
absolutely, he may have killed himself. But sorry, I just talked over you. But if he killed himself, they allowed it to happen.
That's my point. So he may have very well killed himself. However, that doesn't mean that there's not something that stinks going on here, because they should know. I mean, obviously they knew that he was a suicide risk based on what they've said previously. And simply looking the other way isn't actually murder, but it's still something that can't be, it's still a conspiracy, right? It's still something that can't be trusted. It's still an indication that something's going on. You can, and you can chalk it up to incompetence, right? You can say, oh, well, they're just incompetent and this was happening and that was happening. Maybe, but, incompetence can be incentivized, and you can certainly set up a structure and have, make a few comments to the right people and indicate that, like, deprioritize worrying about this guy. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, he'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So you can certainly engineer incompetence subtly, and just be like, for example, I have no evidence that anything like this happened, but imagine the warden saying, we don't have the resources to, patrol every 30 minutes like we're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Well, the response could be, you know what, take resources from somewhere else and make it happen, because this is high priority, and if you don't have the resources to patrol them, then we got to put him back on suicide watch in a different room, because this is a high profile candidate, or criminal. We've got to do something here. But instead, you could easily say, oh, well, if you don't have the resources, don't worry about it. Just treat him like anyone else. And that's a very minor thing to do, but it is a corrupt thing to do, because they should know. We all know how important his life was. We all know it was extremely important to get information out of this guy's head that is now gone forever. And that information may have been necessary to fully expose the criminal activity happening at a high level.
Yeah, something I've come to realize, I guess I was so naive for a while about, I really believe that there are a lot of elitists who have these kinds of skeletons in their closet. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's this weird thing where I think it doesn't have to be, so when you talk about a conspiracy theory, it doesn't have to be, again, like people in a shadowy room deciding we're all going to do this to cover this up. It's just that it's a what?
Aligned interests. That's all it has to be.
That's going to say, you have shared interests. You have aligned interests. And so that's how these things get covered up. And I can't imagine how many people he could have implicated in this, but I'm sure it would probably have been a very large number. And
think about the chilling effect this has on people like Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein's brother and other people who have been around this, who could potentially testify.
Oh, I would be.
How are they going to feel about this?
Yeah, I would. Those the memes that people put out, like, look, I'm marked safe from the Clintons today, like, or whatever the jokes, or I take back every bad. Yeah, I have no information on the Clintons. If I were any of those people in his inner circle, I would be on television right now saying, look, I will never commit suicide. Like, if something happens, it wasn't me.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, but this is also a clear message. Even if it was suicide, the fact that it happened and is this shady will cast doubt on whether it was suicide, even if it was, because they allowed this to happen. So it sends a message. It sends a message to anyone who might be able to testify against the elite who are involved in this. And, someone else on Twitter pointed this out, Keri, and I think it's a super important point to remember. People who do things like this, people who commit crimes like this, very rarely caught. So when you catch someone, actually, there's a lot more crime that has been committed that you're not seeing. So these people maybe did some stuff with Epstein, but that doesn't mean they didn't do stuff with other people and through other organizations and commit their pedophilia and sex trafficking crimes with other cabals of people. And so we're just, and you know, the recidivism rate is huge for people. So we know that if you're the kind of person that does this thing, you don't just do it once. You don't just do it when you go to his orgy island and only when you're on the Lead Express. You do it generally. And so, yeah, this one guy was caught. Information in this one instance is exposed. But think of what that means for this entire class of political and you know, entertainment and, you know, other elites. Think about what that says about what they're likely doing in their lifestyles. And you don't have to look very far to see other examples. There was this NXVIM cult thing, Keith Raniere.
Oh, that was like the weirdest. It with the Allison Mack, the actress from the Smallville, the Superman show, and the WB.
Yeah.
And she was recruiting. It was a cult, like a sex cult, and
which included minors, by the way.
And she was recruiting women for it. And they were branding people.
Yep.
It's like satanic.
And he's been convicted now, so it's not even alleged. Oh. So this kind of thing is going on, and it's rare that we get a peek into it and we get to see like, oh, someone was caught, and here's an example. And so I think that for me, the big lesson here is it is time to let go of your faith in the institutions of our government. If you care about keeping the fundamental values of Western civilization alive, and I mean like, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of association, also just individualism, non-aggression, like don't rape kids, some fundamental values. If you want to keep those values alive, you have to recognize that the institutions that we've set up are toxic to those values. We have autoimmune disease. Our system is attacking our core values. That's the state that we're in right now. So if you care about saving the West, if you care about saving what America means, then you have to let go of your faith in the institutions that have become America, because they are attacking the American values. They're attacking what America means at its core. And it's time to red pill on that if you haven't already.
Red pill.
Or black pill. I don't know what pill of color that is. It's not blue.
It's not blue. Well, I don't have much else to say about him other than I don't know. I think at least this is something the right and the left are united on. Hey, there was funny business here, and both sides, so-called sides, agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people on both sides trying to like make it about one side or the other. So there's definitely people on the left trying to make it about Trump, and there's definitely people on the right trying to make it only about Clinton. And who knows? You know, I think the evidence that we have is it is more of a problem with the Clintons.
Well, both of those things are too limiting.
Yes, that's my point. They're both kind of too limiting. Like, this is a deep, deep problem.
This is not about right or left. This is about elites. This is about the elitists, and it's about the kind of secrets they protect. And there are, I'm sure, like you said, a lot of these kinds of rings out there. So something Owen Benjamin used to say before he kind of seems to have gone a little bit off the deep end. Maybe.
By the way, I know I talk about him sometimes.
Yeah.
Totally off the deep end. He's got like, either he's trolling people or he's just lost his mind. He's just like, I saw some weird thing about how like he doesn't understand basic physics about how the moon's shadow would hit the earth. And he's arguing that like the solar system doesn't exist in the way that it's gone completely crazy.
Well, I think there's value in listening even to someone that you believe has gone completely crazy sometimes. So I haven't listened to him in a while, but I do remember him saying something at one point, which it struck me as being something true, probably some truth to it, which was in a world where people, in a society where people try to like gain power by holding something over someone else, you know, so like this guy Epstein, he had dirt on a ton of people. They all have mutual dirt on each other, right? But in a world where we're losing our taboos, it's like you can't threaten someone because they're having an affair, maybe like a politician, he's having it. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be. People are like, whatever. Or if he's like secretly gay,
Gotta find something worse.
Yes. And so his whole point was that's why you see a lot of these elitists engaging in pedophilia, because it's like this taboo that they can still that will ruin you. Whereas a person trying to hold, your sexuality over your head, or other sexual, like, an affair or what have you, over your head, doesn't have the same impact that it used to have, because our culture has shifted. And so
yeah, something I talked about on the live stream is that I really do believe that this may be this might be inevitable in the way that politics works. Is it might be that if powerful people, so when you have a political system in which politicians have power to make like real impacts on businesses or whatever, when they can ban things, or go after your competitors, or institute regulations, or stuff that can massively cost you potentially billions of dollars, or make you billions of dollars. If politicians have that kind of power, then what will inevitably happen is people with deep pockets want to use that power, and they are more likely to support politicians for whom they can gain leverage. Which means if you're kind of an honest politician who's like, even if that honest politician you think is on your side as a corrupt business person, and you're like, oh yeah, they like me, but I don't want to be dirt on them, so I can't force them to do what I want later, because I don't really have any leverage over them. But this other guy over here, he's a creepy pedophile, and I can get evidence of that, and that's massive leverage. So he's the guy I'm going to go donate to and push. So you kind of end up with this weird, when you have so much power in governments to affect the rest of society and affect people's pocketbooks in such a major way, you end up with a system incentivized to appoint people that they can control.
yes,
right? To like support people they can control.
they're supporting the people with. Go ahead, I cut off the last sentence. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I just said, you end up with people, they support people that they can control, and a great way to control people is blackmail. And the worse they are, the better, because
Yes.
more damning blackmail. So you end up with incentives for the absolute worst people being in power, because those are the ones who you can control the most easily.
You explained it perfectly. That's what I was trying to get at, is I think there's a lot of powerful people who have this particular skeleton in their closet. A lot more people. I guess I used to be naive about how pervasive this kind of child abuse was.
Right.
Sexual child abuse.
For all I know, it may not be more pervasive in society generally than we think it is, but it may be very concentrated in positions of power, precisely because those are the people that get pushed into positions of power, because those are the people that can be controlled. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Keri, I think if you really care about Western civilization, you really want to see what America stands for, you need to turn against the institutions of our government, because they are poison, they are toxic, and they are destroying those values that you think the flag stands for are noble values. And our institutions are killing those values actively.
So have a good week, guys.
Woohoo! I always end on a positive note, Keri. I'm always a guy to really lift people's spirits, no matter what the issue.
Happy Monday. I'm glad we got to talk about this together, and
say something uplifting.
Well, I mean, my positive note was earlier, like at least the right and the left agree on something. Hey, silver lining.
Pedophiles, woohoo!
Yeah, and we all think this was shady.
Yeah. All right, well, we will see you guys tomorrow. Please don't forget to like and share. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Please go to Subscribestar and support us. We can make better content more frequently, the more support we have. So, chip in $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever it is. If you chip in $25 a month, I don't have the mug with me. but I've shown it on previous shows. I'll show it for tomorrow's Kofefi. If you're at the $25 a month level or up, you get a free mug, which is a pretty awesome mug. So thanks everyone for watching.